right. Happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's Tech Talk. Our topic today is going to be talking about race day secrets, mental and physical preparation for peak performance. And when I think about race day secrets and kind of how to kind of prep up for it, we look at equipment, we look at hydration, we look at fuel, we look at just all the things that you need on the day of race day, but so much of it comes from before race day. And all of that preparation are all important to making sure you're prepared on race day. Our mission is to help develop community-focused paddlers and leaders, and to provide mindset, technique, and coaching talks to support you with your paddling. Okay, so on the agenda, we're going to cover pre-race week prep. We're going to talk about mental preparation techniques, race day physical preparation, and common race day mistakes. And lastly, post-race analysis. Here's a photo of dragonboat racing in San Francisco, one of our crews. And today's talk will be mostly focused on team-related sports. So dragonboat races, OC6 races, and then it can also be applied to OC1 races, but mostly on the team aspect side. But I think a lot of the talks will be transferable. Okay. Okay. Quick disclaimer, just that this is a very general overview. As I'm trying to think up of topics to cover, there's just so many. And so hopefully each topic in the future I can go deeper on. But this is a very big overview on race day preparation. At the end of the day, you should do what your coaches say to do, whether that is, team huddles, whether that is what nutrition or hydration that they want you to use, what equipment to use. At the end of the day, you should be doing what your coach tells you to do. All right. All right. So when we get into it, in terms of pre-race preparations, I'm looking at pretty much adjusting your sleep. If if you have a trip overseas for a race, so let's say your driving boat team is doing a Korea race or a Japan race, right? You want to start making ways to adjust your sleep schedule to kind of start moving into that time zone so that when you get there, you can acclimate better. And so that's for away races. For local races, if it's a morning race, you kind of want to start trying to get a good routine going earlier in the morning. If it's an afternoon race, you might want to switch your paddling to be a little more in the evening. You want to make those adjustments. For local races. You want to kind of just time it up. 4 to 5 days prior, you should already start trying to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep prior. So I think a common mistake is that people try to get a lot of sleep the night before, but that isn't enough. You want to go 4 to 5 days. So pretty much that week beforehand, you want to start trying to slowly increase the amount that you can sleep so that your body can recover. In terms of hydration and nutrition planning, 2 to 3 days prior, you want to start kind of locking in what you're going to eat on race day. I know a lot of people just kind of go with the flow, but having a plan allows you to at least be ready with things that you are used to eating as opposed to just finding something when you're hungry. In terms of hydration, you also want to start hydrating 2 to 3 days in advance. So if you're thirsty, but if you're drinking only when you feel thirsty, that's already too late. So if race day is on Saturday, by Wednesday, Tuesday, you should already start trying to drink a little bit more water, add a little bit of like electrolytes in there to get your body to start recovering and to be ready for race day. I also recommend a training taper. So if you've heard of tapering before, right? A week before, I usually try to start reducing some of the volume. I I say 7 days out, 7 days out, you want to kind of decrease volume by 20%. And then every 2 days, decrease it by another 20 to 10%. And so by the time you're 3 days out, you should be doing 50% of the volume. And as you get closer to race day, you could do some light technical sessions, but I wouldn't, or even like a few quick pickups, like hard 30-second sprints to lock in the technique, but not a full on workout where it's a hard workout to to just get extra energy. It's not going to happen. You're going to be tired on race day. You also don't want to stop completely. You don't want to be like, oh, okay, race day is on Saturday. You stop training for the 7 days prior. You actually want to keep some sort of volume going so that you stay active, but you don't want to stop completely. And like I said before, don't do one last hard workout the night before or the day before, right? You want to make sure you do a quick technical session and then trust the process that you've done enough of the training to then go into the race day. Also, pre-race week, you want to start getting your equipment checked out, making sure you have all the things that you're looking for, and also that each of the things that you have are in working order, right? So most people don't have an equipment checklist. So my tip is to write one out, even if it's just writing out 1 to 10, the things that you need, whether it's your paddle, your PFD, your Garmin watch, your heart rate monitor, your water bottle, your Camelback, your sunscreen, your sunglasses. So you want to write all those things out. Just have a checklist so that on race day, or even as you're prepping the night before or 2 nights before, that you have a list that you can go through. You also want to check the equipment prior to race day. So take out your paddle, make sure it's in working order. Take out your Garmin watch, take out your heart rate monitor, make sure the battery is good. If you're going on an OC1 race, right, making sure all your yakos and the seats and all those things are in working order. Another good tip here is to not try new equipment on race day. So don't kind of say, "Oh, I'm at the race and they're selling new paddles. Yeah, let me just take one and I'm going to use that on race day." Uh, it's not that it's not good. It's more just that if things go wrong, it's hard to pinpoint what the variable was, right? So you want to use the equipment that you have been training on, been using. Of course, you should also have a backup. So maybe the new paddle or new whatever could be your backup, but you should be using the stuff that you're used to on race day. And so, yes, have spares, have backups in case, right? So, just making sure you have extra paddles that you bring in case the first one breaks or in case you can't find the first one, just having backups ready. So I put all of this in pre-race week preparation. Okay. And of course, there's still many other things that you can prepare, but those are kind of the ones that I put out to talk about. In terms of mental preparation techniques, I think that sometimes when it gets close to race day or it's on race day, people can get very anxious. People can get very nervous. And I want to say that that's totally normal. And in fact, like the fact that you are nervous and you are anxious means that you really care about the race and that you want to get ready and do a good job. And so I have breathing techniques that many of you might already know, but these breathing techniques, especially if you're a coach, you can do with the whole team as part of your warm up or as part of your kind of team gathering so that everyone is able to settle down and be in the right mindset. So there's box breathing, which is where you breathe in for 4 seconds. So as you think of it like a square, like a box, right? So you're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and breathe, and then breathe out, and then inhale again for 4 seconds, and you just kind of keep going. In, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, and 4 times, or more, depending on what your team wants to do. But it's mainly to get your heart rate to come down and for people to bring down that anxiety and bring down that race day jitter. This is another technique. It's a 4-7-8 where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and you exhale for 8 seconds, and then you repeat. And so that's just, yeah, a different breathing technique to kind of help you with your race day anxiety. There's also another way to manage your anxiety. And again, it really means that you care about what you're about to do and that your body is getting ready to try to perform. A way to kind of focus on the controllables, right? So when you think about what what am I in control of? And so I put down your preparation is what you're in control of. You already done the work. Your technique is what you have control over, and your mindset is what you have control over, among other things, right? You can control how where your equipment is, how prepared you are with the equipment, which we talked about in the last slide. In terms of your training preparation, you can be confident in what you've done so far, is what is the work that you have put in. And then if you felt like that wasn't enough work, then we'll talk about it in the post-race analysis where you kind of go back to kind of figure out what you could have controlled better in the future. Another great thing to do is to have visualizations. And so when your team is about to enter a race and do the race or the race heat, that your team visualizes what they're going to do, right? So you might sit everyone down, you might call a race start, run a race piece, and have everyone close their eyes, kind of visualize it, focus on what technique they're gonna focus on. Maybe they're gonna catch deep, they're gonna push out on the exit, have them feel out the environment, imagine and visualize the environment on the water, what the boat's gonna feel like, and all of their teammates together, training hard together, racing hard together. It's also good to have a pre-race routine. So this can be individual or this could be for a team, right? So if a team might have a specific kind of warm up that they do every time. It's great to have a routine like that so that everyone just kind of knows that, okay, as we do this routine, we're about to go racing in about 30 minutes. For individuals, a routine might be like making sure you arrive early, your gear, you put it in a certain place, your team has a huddle, you eat a certain breakfast, you warm up a certain way. So having all of this kind of written out so that you have a routine will help you to settle the anxiety and to be ready to race because you've done it many times. So you have a list a protocol that you go through each time. All right. You might have some lucky items that you always have. Maybe it's a certain hat, maybe it's a certain sticker or a wristband that you usually wear. So make sure you have those items ready. The team, maybe there's a chant, maybe there's a meditation moment, maybe there's a music playlist that you listen to, kind of get all a stretch that you do. All of those things are important. And if you don't have any right now, it'll be good for you to write down something that you want to do for maybe like a 5 minute warm up routine or a 5 minute preparation routine that can help you get into the right mindset. In terms of actual race day preparation, I have some suggestions. And again, this is not a disclaimer is this is not what will work for everybody, but I do recommend that you figure out something that works for you. In terms of meal timing and what you eat, stick to what you know. Don't try something new on the day of. Stick to what works for you, whether that's a banana with granola and yogurt, or if you like a certain specific kind of, if you like to eat something that like cereal or milk, keep doing that. That works for you. So 3 hours before your race, or 3 hours before your race is when I would recommend a main meal. And this main meal isn't a heavy meal. It should be kind of a good hearty meal, but not like crazy heavy. And then 90 minutes before your race, you want to get a snack in there. And then 30 minutes before, maybe get a gel that you're used to or a snack bar that you're used to and kind of have that 30 minutes beforehand. And then don't eat anything too much after that 30-minute mark. And then on race day, I recommend dynamic warm-up sequences. So having a routine where it's dynamic. The warm-up should include things like a light jog, some twists, arm circles, leg swings, walking lunges, hip openers, resistance band work. The idea is that it's better to do dynamic stretches where you stretch your muscles out as opposed to static stretches where you stay in one stable motion. you want to move around and get your body to activate its muscles in preparation for the race, right? And since we're in the paddling sport, shoulders are important to open up, hips are important, and the legs are also important to open up. And so pre-race activation exercises, I would also recommend adding some push-ups in there, some mountain climbers, some banded pulls, and some burpees even. And again, the goal of the pre-race activation isn't to burn you out and make you so tired that you're not ready to race. It's just to get your blood flowing and the muscles working so that you're ready to then work even harder. Something that's important on race day is to have energy conservation between races. A race day is a very long day, right? When you think about dragon boat races or OC6 regattas, you're at the race site from morning till night. And so it's very important that in between the races, you find shade, that you sit, minimize the walking and running. And I know it's hard sometimes at dragon boat festivals, you want to go everywhere, but if you're focused on the racing, just try to minimize the walking. The less that you're on your feet, the better. You also want to keep your equipment organized and you want to avoid rushing. So in order to avoid rushing, what you can control is to make sure everyone's in the right place early, right? That way you're not scrambling to figure out and then having to run back and forth for the equipment. You want to make sure everything is in the right spot and that everyone's accounted for. Yeah, and recovery between the heats, make sure you are hydrating, maybe a light stretch in between, a small snack, stay off your feet, and make sure you mentally reset yourself so that you're ready for the next heat. Okay. Here are some common race day mistakes. Okay. Over here, you see a picture of me. This is a good thing. You want to do get rest between the heats. Okay. Some common race day mistakes, overeating, or eating the wrong foods, right? You don't need a huge breakfast in the morning. You actually want something light that you've actually tested before, meaning something that you're used to eating that you know works for you. And if it works for you, try to get it for yourself so that every time you show up to race day, you have the right equipment and the right fuel, right food that you will like to eat and feel like that will help you with your performance, right? Eat 2 to 3 hours before your race and really don't try anything new. Okay. Don't say, oh, that looks cool. It works for you. Let me try it today. If you want to try something new, ask for it and use it another time, maybe for practice to try something new. A common race day mistake is insufficient warm up, right? So there are multiple ways of kind of making this mistake. If a team warms up too early, that can happen. And warming up too early, I would say, is if you warm up like, an hour beforehand and then you're done warming up and then you still sit for another 50 minutes and then it's race day, right? So race time. So you want to make sure you are warming up right on time. Usually I would recommend you should be warm and then race within the next 30 minutes. I think that's around the sweet spot. And then dynamic stretches are better than static stretches if possible. Just gets your blood flowing better. And then another common mistake is wasting energy before race. And this goes with like if it's too intense of a warm up, if you make everyone sprint, 600-meter dashes right beforehand, or you make people do 2 minutes max burpees as a warm up, that is probably too much energy wasted before you go to race, and you'll tire everyone out before your race day. And here's another one that I think for the social butterflies, it could waste a lot of energy. You show up to the race and you're trying to get ready and mentally ready, but everyone's talking and everyone's so excited to see everyone. Just knowing that could expend your energy and your body battery quite a bit. And so you want to make sure you limit that and just say, hey, I'm focused on racing, and then kind of limit that for yourself. Also, you want to make sure you don't stand in the sun for too long. It can really drain you. In terms of mental distractions, uh, this is more like if you're racing or you're about to race and you see other teams just doing their thing, you don't want to get mentally caught up with the other teams. You want to make sure you're in your own, focus on your own team, focus on your own controllables, right? You want to trust your training because race day is about execution not experimentation. You want to make sure you remember your training, your technique, focus on the things that you have trained, not let's try something new. And there's also a mistake there with trusting your training. Sometimes some teams will try to change everything up on race day, and that actually you don't want to do that. You want to just focus on what you've been training, and later you can think about making the adjustment. Some hydration mistakes might be, again, if people don't start drinking 2 or 3 days early and then they only drink when they feel thirsty because at that point it's too late, right? You'll probably be spending a lot of time trying to catch up on your hydration. Something that's important that I put in here is the post-race analysis. Many times people finish the race and then they're like, I'm done. But actually, it's super important to self-reflect either as a team or as an individual after each of your races, right? So there's a self-reflection portion protocol that I like to use. It's called 3H1A, 3W1H. Essentially, it's going over what went well, what didn't go as planned, what surprised you, and how will you improve, right? So it's a very basic questions of things that went well for you, things that didn't go so well, what was surprising, and how will you get better. I think this covers a good amount that will help you improve for the next race. You also want to write down these thoughts as they are. I wrote free here, but like fresh, right? Like it just happened. You want to write it down in either your phone in notes, but you want to get it down as they are super raw right now. You want to put them down. Then we talk about performance review, right? In terms of performance, how did you do technically, right? Let's say I raced that dragon boat heat, I raced that race. How was your technique during that piece? Were you able to apply all the technique that you wanted to do, or were there things that were missing? In terms of physical, were you able to endure the entire piece? Were you able to output enough power the whole time? Physically, how strong were you during that entire piece? The mental is focused on how was your mental state during the piece, right? Were you able to focus on yourself? Were you feeling super positive, super negative, super worried? Like, where was your mental state and how can that be improved? Or was it really strong, right? So, kind of reviewing each of those technical, physical, and mental states. And then after the race, it's important to have a recovery protocol. And I say recovery protocol because sometimes people finish the race and they don't think about it. What I recommend is to stretch, to have foam rolling, and to make sure you dial in on your nutrition. And I put beer here because sometimes a lot of people finish racing and they're like, give me a beer, right? Which is great and super fun. But then when you also think about where your goals are, I think it depends on where you are. All right. So I would say you make a choice as to when you choose to recover, because the beer likely will not help you with your recovery, but it will help you with fun and socializing and enjoying and having a good time. So you kind of make that call for yourself. For future race preparation improvement, it's also super helpful to reflect on how you've done. And so it will, yeah, get you to really think about whether or not what you've done in terms of your training, your tapering, your hydration, your nutrition, whether all of that will help you, will help you with your next race, whenever that next race is. Okay. All right. So I have an online paddling school community where if you join today, it will be 7 days free trial. You can win prizes at the end of each month. You can get weekly workouts and access to courses about paddling. And please get in before the prices go up. And here's the link. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to this Tech Talk. Thank you. If that was valuable to you, please drop a comment, drop a like, or share it to a friend that you think will benefit from this. Thank you so much for tuning in.